Here's to you, dear listeners, and welcome to Metal Gear Mondays, the most thorough Metal Gear podcast on the internet. I am sometimes your host, Sam Wright, and I'm joined today by some friends for an interview episode of the podcast that we call Metal Gear Mondays. Gentlemen, starting in alphabetical order, please introduce yourself.
Last name or first name? This is hard.
I'm going to let you guys figure that out amongst yourselves.
I'm Alessio Summerfield.
And I'm Isaac.
But yeah, so we are doing another interview episode. This one's a very interesting one. I think this is the first time we've branched out of the voice world as far as our interviews go. We talked to Terry Wolf, our first interview a couple months ago, and
bless you, Terry.
Thank you, Terry. And then now we've gone full circle. We talked to is it full circle? I don't know what that means.
It's full 10 circle.
Full 10 circle.
Yeah.
We're talking to Ryan Payton, who is just a wonderful dude. It's a very exciting interview. Alessio, talk to me about Ryan Payton.
Yeah, so Ryan is a lovely young man. Ryan is somebody who has worked on the sort of production side of Metal Gear, and he has credits to his name, such as Metal Gear Solid 3 Subsistence, Metal Gear Solid Portable Ops, and Metal Gear Solid 4. And he'll get into his exact experiences with all of those in this interview, but it seems like Portable Ops and 4 are probably the two that he poured the most of himself in. He's also worked on things like Halo 4, and he is the kind of, I want to say owner. I don't know if he's co-owner, but he's one of the owners. Yeah, founder and sort of key fella over at Camouflaj, based out of Seattle, Washington, and they developed such things as Republique and now most recently the Iron Man VR game for the PlayStation 4.
And so he's done a lot. You're gonna hear a lot of cool stuff in this episode that we had no idea about.
Yeah, you're hearing our genuine reactions, because holy shit, I don't think we realized who we were talking to.
We got some we got some scoops. So it's gonna be a lot of fun.
Yeah, hold on. Let's walk that back real quick. So we're talking to Ryan Payton, the father of the Battle Royale genre, the reason why Shenmue 3 exists, and quite a lot of other things.
And a huge influence on a lot on MGS4?
MGS everything.
Everything.
Yeah. Also, airsoft partner to Fumito Ueda. Yep. So there's that too.
You'll find out about all that stuff.
Personal Airbnb.
To legendary game developers everywhere.
Yep. So it's just a cool interview, guys.
Yeah, this was awesome.
Yeah. So thank you to Ryan for taking time out to talk to us about his history in the industry, about his projects, for opening up to us about some difficult stuff too that he's had to deal with during his career. Just for being a generally good dude.
Also for like fellow podcaster, he was like sort of the official English Kojima Productions podcast host. So that's amazing.
Indeed. So just all kinds of cool stuff. He's such a cool dude. Don't know how many times I can say that, but it's true.
We definitely need to give a massive shout out to Kris Zimmerman Salter for connecting us.
Indeed, you do.
Yeah. So I think she maybe even mentioned it on her interview. So if that airs before this, you'll hear the moment when she talks about Ryan in particular. And yeah, that's sort of the prequel to this interview. So
we will we'll get into the interview with Ryan here in just a second. You can find Ryan on Twitter at Ryan Payton. That's Payton. You can also find his company Camouflaj on Twitter at Camouflaj if you want to keep up to date with the stuff that they're doing. And yeah, so keep we're gonna talk. We'll mention that again in the end of the episode, but wanted to get that up at the top. You can find us on the internet at metalgearmondays.com, where you can find links to our YouTube, to our Facebook, to our Twitter, all kinds of stuff. Social of all kinds. Patreon.com/metalgearmondays, where we have lots of fun bonus perks starting at just $1 a month. What else do we have? We've got a YouTube. We just got a lot of cool stuff. So check us out on the internet. Alessio, where can they find you?
You can find me at AC Summerfield pretty much everywhere, or acsummerfield.com. And PSN, Steam, pretty much wherever. Battle.net. You come find me, come play games with me, come talk to me. Just reach out. I don't bite, and I try to be responsive. So yeah.
All right. And Isaac, what about you?
Hey guys, I'm just here because love you guys.
Isaac exclusively exists when the record button gets hit on this podcast.
Yeah. Otherwise, I go to avoid not to be seen.
Oh my god, that's actually horrifying. That's existential threat.
Tell me about it, Alessio. I have to live it.
Yeah, Isaac's existence just completely becomes black whenever we hit stop recording. It's just like zoom.
Can we keep rolling, please?
Please don't send me back to the dark place again.
Yeah.
I don't want to go back to the dark place. It's really scary, actually. Moving swiftly along, you can find me.
Otherwise,
yeah,
you can hit me up at doesn't have a twit.
I forgot you even didn't say that yet.
You forgot that he had an actual
Twitter
answer
to go to. Yeah.
Wow.
You can find me on Twitter at Sanjul. That's SANJUUL. And yeah, that's it. We're gonna talk to Ryan Payton.
I hope we talk to him again in the future, because the number of times that he said we'll save that for another episode, I just wanted to be like, cool, let's do that.
Yeah, I would like to have Ryan Payton back on repeat episodes. So yes, let's do that. I guess we'll send Isaac back to the void from whence he came, and we'll go talk to Ryan. Sorry, Isaac.
Isaac.
It has to happen. I'm sorry.
Hey,
bye, Isaac.
Roll that beautiful bean footage.
Ryan, thank you so much for joining us. Before I dive into our questions, I just wanted to, right off the top, thank Kris Zimmerman Salter for putting us in contact with each other, and ask you a little bit about just your experience with her.
Yeah, Kris Zimmerman Salter is one of the first people I was able to work with when I joined the Metal Gear team back in 2005, I believe it was. So she's a voiceover director, as you know, and I think my first project with her was on Metal Gear Solid Portable Ops, and so that was 14 years ago, and so we've stayed in close contact ever since. Obviously, worked with her on other Metal Gear titles, worked with her on Halo 4, worked with her on one of my more recent projects, and my current project as well. So great friend, love her to death, and she's a big part of the Metal Gear DNA.
Right. Yeah, we just recently interviewed her. I think by the time this episode airs, that episode will have already aired. And it was just awesome just hearing her talk about her experiences, and she was so great, and we just had a really good time talking to her, and she's just had such a breadth of experience across the entire industry. It's nuts.
Yeah, she's fun to talk to too. So.
Yeah, she's definitely a lot of fun. I definitely knew she was a voice director when she called me back and asked if we could do some pickups, and I was like, why not?
yeah, sounds about right.
It's awesome.
So, so outside of that, I also want to get this out of the way for anybody who may not know this. So you kind of officially produced a podcast for Kojima Productions called the Kojima Productions Report. We're kind of the weird basement stepchild to your official work. Can you tell us what it's like to just, officially produce a podcast for Kojima Productions? What was that like?
Yeah, it was a daunting task, and I think I've got a pretty good story that I'll keep pretty short. But as I mentioned, I joined Kojima Productions back in 2005 as an international coordinator, and so I was a pretty low level guy. Working on a lot of coordination between the different branches of Konami and helping with translations and things like that. And I remember around the time that I joined, it was right around the time that blogging was becoming popular. And I don't know if you remember the Hideo blog.
Oh, yeah.
That he was doing, and so he was posting these. Hideo was posting extensive blog posts around that time in Japanese, and then he came to me and said, "Hey, I really want these to be translated in English," and that's its whole another story. But then he kind of got into podcasting, and then I remember him telling me like how popular his Japanese podcast was, and he said that it'd be great to have an English version, but that's obviously a much trickier thing to do because am I just going to record this podcast per week about all the things that he talked about on the Japanese side? It's kind of 2 steps removed, and would that be very interesting? And so I kind of changed the format on the fly, and we just started to just talk about Metal Gear and other Kojima Productions related titles as much as we could without revealing any new information. Because like PR did not want me to be like the official mouthpiece for like all new announcements and things like that, for rightfully so, right? But I think we did a really great job of talking about having an official Metal Gear Solid podcast every week without like really announcing anything. And one thing I remember is that he at a certain point Hideo was kind of like poking at me and like teasing me of the fact that his podcast was more popular than my English podcast. And he said, well, the company in Japan only has 300 million citizens, but like the whole English speaking world is many, many, many times that. Why is your podcast so unpopular? And I took that as a challenge, and I put a lot of effort into that podcast, made it as good as I possibly could. And at one point, we had over 100,000 listeners every week.
Oh wow!
And I remember Hideo stopped asking me about to kind of up my game because I think we might have surpassed the Japanese side. So that was something I was pretty proud of.
A podcast to surpass Metal Gear?
How is that possible?
So they said they didn't want that podcast to be the source of truth, like for reveals and things like that. How much did you know? Like, what kind of scoops did you have to potentially reveal?
I had all the scoops.
Oh man!
I mean, I was
scoop master.
I had all the scoops. I mean, this is kind of a nice way to just kind of introduce myself in a way to your audience, but I am the luckiest person in the whole world, just officially. And what I mean by that is that I played Metal Gear Solid, the first one, back in 1998. I was a high school student. I thought this is amazing. It just blew my mind and opened my mind to what games, the medium of games, could do. And then fast forward 7 years later, and I'm working on the sequel to the sequel to the sequel of one of my favorite games of all time. And Metal Gear Solid 3 is my favorite video game of all time. So I end up working on a sequel to my favorite video game of all time. How many people could say that, right? And not only working on it, I was just so involved in so many aspects of Kojima Productions, of Metal Gear Solid 4, Portable Ops, the podcast, Lunar Nights, Bokutai, the digital graphic novel, so many aspects of development. I was just right there on the ground level, and it was a dream come true.
That's wild.
So yes,
yeah,
I had like my keys to the keys to the castle. I knew everything that was going on. I had to be very careful about not announcing things accidentally.
That's crazy. I feel like you sort of came on board at like the perfect time because it was sort of like the golden era for Kojima development. I feel like it was just like the most efficient kind of like they're just pumping them out. You know what I mean? Yeah,
you're right. And I joined very soon after the announcement of Kojima Productions. I believe he announced it at E3 2005. That's where I met him. And that's where he basically on the spot offered me a job. It took me until Tokyo Game Show, which was in September. So it took me roughly about 3 to 4 months before I actually joined the company. But you're right. That was right. Like it was kind of a golden era of that studio because it was a lot of ambition. He wanted to do lots of things, lots of games, lots of merchandise, like expand the world and just do more than just games. And so it was a really, really exciting time to be working there.
Nice. I'll kick it on over to Sam to ask another question here in a second. But I just had to ask, and I'm sure it's like blasphemy that I cannot recall off the top of my head, but I really enjoyed listening, and I'm going to be totally honest. I'm going to go on record and say this. The podcasts that were included on the iPod in Metal Gear Solid 4 are a big reason why this podcast exists.
Oh, wow.
And I can't recall offhand, were the podcasts that you were producing, were those the ones that shipped with the game, or were they the IGN ones? Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, we produced some. I can't remember how many we did, but and those were burnt on the disc. So yeah, and those were fun, like kind of running commentary about the game and lots of interesting insights like that. That was fun.
Yeah, they were great.
So you are based in Seattle, much like myself, which is not common to see, I don't think, within the industry.
Right.
Have you been out there for most of your time working in games, or was it kind of a semi-recent move?
Yeah. So born and raised in Washington State.
Oh, nice.
After I graduated from high school, went to college here near Seattle, and then I went to Japan to do a job with the JET program, which I'm certain some of your listeners have heard of, which I was basically an English teacher, paid for by the Japanese government for a year and a half, where to the point where I was doing freelance work for OneUp.com, EGM, Wired Magazine, Japan Times, and that's what brought me as a journalist, brought me to E3 2005, met Hideo, he offered me a job, and the rest is history. But I ended up spending a total of 5 years in Japan. And then after shipping at Metal Gear Solid 4 and do some family things that was going on at the time, I ended up coming back to the Washington State, to the Seattle area. And I've been here ever since. So yeah, outside of those 5 years in Japan, the Seattle area the entire time.
Very cool. Where did you go to school?
I went to school at the University of Puget Sound, kind of a small liberal arts college in Tacoma. Now I live in more of the downtown Seattle, Bellevue area, where we have a studio that I started 8 years ago called Camouflaj. So we're home to about 60 developers here.
Yeah, I could throw a rock at you right now.
Yeah, you probably. Oh, really? Nice.
No, I live in the Kirkland area, so I'm pretty close.
Oh, right on. Yeah, very close. Wow.
Yeah, we were all just up there. We went to the Renton City Retro, where we got to meet David and Cam, David Hayter and Cam Clark.
Oh, that's right.
It was a lot of fun. Yeah, it was my second time ever in that area, and I think it was Isaac's first time.
Yeah,
and we had a blast.
First time.
Oh man, just barely miss each other. That would have been kind of fun to meet in person next time.
Mm-hmm. I wanted to ask super quickly, actually, because I'm going to reveal I'm going to pull the curtain back just a little bit. In prepping these questions, I don't think I ever once wrote out anything about asking about Camouflaj. Kris talked very, very fondly about you guys in the interview that we did with her. And I know that there's a lot of sort of shared DNA kind of across the aisle, so to speak. Could you tell us a little bit about when Camouflaj kind of came to be and
Sure.
your role and all that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So after shipping Metal Gear Solid 4 to Microsoft, I was creative director on Halo 4. I spent 3 years at Microsoft and was more or less pushed out. That was one of the hardest days of my life. A lot of people have gone through that, like getting fired, getting demoted, and it was real and it hurt. And I was pretty motivated still at the time to do something meaningful in games. And I really do look back at my time playing that first Metal Gear Solid game about how it really opened my eyes to games and how we could be utilizing games as a medium to tell stories in really interesting ways and really influence the way people think, and hopefully in a positive way. Like it opened my eyes to nuclear proliferation and interesting story about the Cold War in Metal Gear Solid 3, right? And so when it came time to figure out what I was going to do next, I sold all my Microsoft stock, which was at the time $25 a share. If you want to look to see why my dad likes to laugh at me now, you can go look at what the share price of Microsoft is these days. And I liquidated my 401k at a 50% tax penalty. And I just invested all of that money into starting Camouflaj, an independent game studio all about making meaningful games. We started in 2011, and we got straight to work. We and just a few people that I met online, and we just started working out of my bedroom, and eventually graduated to our own office, a really dingy office in a old condemned bank building. And we pitched a game called Republique on Kickstarter. We raised over $500,000. And then, just built a 5-part episodic game that's really very much inspired by Metal Gear Solid, but also really inspired by the first few Resident Evil games. And so, really proud of that game, and finally finished that game in 2016 after releasing all the episodes. And then we had a different project that that we were building that got canceled, and then was through a crazy story for another time. I got wrapped up in this current project with Sony First Party Worldwide Studios. And we're doing an exclusive PlayStation VR game, Marvel's Iron Man VR, and we've been on that game for almost 3 years now. And we're just even today just working super hard on that game, trying to make it as great as it could possibly be.
That's awesome. Yeah, all of our fans and sort of Patreon supporters, we have a private Discord, and we were all on Discord chatting about the sort of state of play. I think the first video that came out. And whenever we all saw the Iron Man VR reveal, we were all like, "Oh, holy shit, that looks phenomenal!" Like,
oh, thank you.
So we're all very excited. So
yeah, the trailer, does a good job of like communicating that it's an Iron Man VR game, but it doesn't get like a lot of fans want to see more of the gameplay. So we're really excited for whenever we can show more of the game and talk more about the game. But I think it's worth getting excited for. I think that the team is doing a really, really excellent job. But also the Insomniac guys have set a very high bar for what a PlayStation Marvel exclusive game could look like with their Spider-Man game. So we've got our work cut out for us.
For sure.
So we were kind of interested in this one little tidbit. Giant Bomb had mentioned that you got brought in mid-development in MGS4 to help quote unquote westernize the game feel for the series. How is that accurate, or
it's close? It's close. So yeah, let me set the record straight. I joined Kojima Productions just as they were wrapping up Metal Gear Solid 3 Subsistence. One of my first jobs was to play test the game. I was so excited because, again, as my favorite video game of all time, I was more than happy to jump back into it with that 3D camera and to see all the new content. So that was, and play a lot of Metal Gear Online too with the team. So that was a really fun way to join the company and get initiated. So I did not join Konami and get nor was I asked to westernize the game at that time, right? But what ended up transpiring, and I hope you guys don't mind me kind of taking a little bit of a detour here to get to the answer, but my career within Konami was really, really took off thanks to the Metal Gear Solid Portable Ops game. As you guys know, obviously, as huge fans of the series and as the great work that you guys do at the podcast, there's those two PSP games prior, the Metal Gear Acid and Metal Gear Acid 2 games. Metal Gear Acid 1 in particular did very, very well, but the most common feedback we got from fans was we want like a more real Metal Gear game, right? A stealth action 3D game. And that's what the Metal Gear Solid Portable Ops game was. But the problem with that project was that it was very much a little sister or little brother to the big project, which was Metal Gear Solid 4 at the time. Didn't get a lot of attention. The team size was pretty small. And it had development problems. It had serious development problems. And so what I did pretty early on in my time at Kojima Productions is that, and I was young and crazy and so excited to be there, is that once I was done with my main job around like 7 or 8 o'clock at night, I would go and pair up with the audio director of Portable Ops, and we would just load up a build on a PSP dev kit, and we just play the game every single night together, and just like kind of talk about things we liked and didn't like, and we wrote up those notes, and I would send those to the team before I went home at like 2 or 3 in the morning. And apparently, I didn't know that at the time, but the team was just looking at those notes, and they would just change the game based on the notes I was sending that they would get in the morning. Part of the reason was, for a lot of reasons, but there was some leadership challenges on the title, and I got busy with I was doing a lot of business travel for Metal Gear Solid 4. But I remember I came back from something, and the project lead for Portable Ops came to me and said, "Where have you been? Where are your notes? We've been going for like a week, and we haven't seen any of your notes recently." And so, I was just doing that to help out. He's like, "Well, don't stop, please."
Oh wow!
So nobody ever told me that I was like de facto director, and I really wasn't. But I think I did kind of fulfill that role because, again, of like lots of challenges with the project that they were having. And so I just kept doing that all the way to ship. And I remember the game was almost done and almost really great, but it wasn't quite there, and it wasn't going to hit Black Friday in time. And I remember personally going to Konami America and begging them for an extra few weeks. and they agreed to a delay. So I believe the game came out in early December of 2006. So it did miss Black Friday, but it did come out and it reviewed very well, and it sold very well. And I remember the wrap party, and I will never forget this. Hideo came over to me. We're all kind of celebrating the release and how successful it seemed like it was going. And he said, "I heard what you did on the project." I was like, "Uh-oh, I'm in trouble." Like, I figured he was going to tell me I should have spent more time working on MGS4. And he says, "I want you to do what you did on that project on Metal Gear Solid 4. And in particular, I think you did a really good job of giving like a Western perspective. And I'm worried about, some of the critiques that we got on MGS3 about the controls, and rightfully so. I think the Metal Gear Solid 3 controls could have been better." And so, yeah, I was one of my many jobs, but yeah, I was very much involved in giving feedback and in design meetings and just talking about ways that we can make sure that the game didn't feel too obtuse to Western audiences. And obviously, Gears of War was a big influence at the time.
Yeah, that makes sense. I wanted to ask, actually, so it's interesting. So, Ryan, I'm sure you don't know this because we have way too many episodes, and there's no way in hell I would ever expect anybody to listen to.
I haven't listened to them all, but I've listened to a fair amount.
Oh, thank you. That's kind of you. But I wanted to say, so you're the first person that we've talked to who hasn't come in from like the voice side.
Oh, interesting.
Because like even so, we had Jeremy Blaustein who translated the original Metal Gear Solid on, but even he and my sort of, I don't know, in my thinking is sort of still tangentially kind of connected to that voice world. And so to kind of get your perspective from like an actual production boots on the ground, I'm really curious, like what's your perspective on Hideo Kojima? Because I think we just kind of keep hearing like whispers in the dark, but like you've actually had sort of, I don't know, like development chops with him. So I'd love to hear what your thoughts are on that.
Oh, it's such a broad question. I don't know exactly how to approach it, but I'll say, my perspective on Hideo is that obviously extremely talented, has a great vision. He's hardworking, and I have just a great amount of respect for him and his creations. And I enjoyed working with him. At times it was tough. Like we didn't always get along. But I really will forever appreciate him bringing me on board and taking a chance on me. And he was quite generous with me during my time at Konami. I will say, like, if there was anything I could say that was like, where maybe he and I didn't always see eye to eye, it was typically in areas where I was like maybe trying to instill my will too much into a project, right? Which I think is, for better for worse, like maybe something I shouldn't have done, right? Because I'm this like young, ambitious American guy in this Japanese company, and these guys have been around for a long time. But I definitely want to put my stamp on the game as much as I could, and help the team also put their stamp on the game. And so I think there was a good tension there too. I think we had a lot of good debates. So yeah, again, I look back at my time working with him very fondly. And I'm excited to see what Death Stranding's all about. And yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna be going into overtime working on Death Stranding, because I think we're gonna try to release those episodes of our podcast like as soon as humanly possible. Yeah, so absolutely. I think we're excited and also like, a little nervous.
I think that's completely valid. I mean, I don't think anybody knows what that thing is going to turn out to be.
It's like my joke about it is that they released this like 9-minute trailer, and I still have no idea what to expect from it.
Yeah. I should be careful about what I like all my speculation, but I seriously don't have any insider information. But from the outside, what I perceive is happening is that I think he's very much like taking advantage of the fact that they're more independent and can kind of just exercise his flex his creative muscles to the max on this thing. And I think it's going to result in something very, very unique. And I just hope it's like a really fun game to play that we all really love.
For sure. Speaking of hot takes and insights, you recently made the news.
I did, yeah.
You were on a panel at E3, and it's interesting because I will go ahead and say this. I didn't, in my head, I wasn't like, oh, Ryan's definitely at E3. But I definitely considered like, oh, you guys are working on Iron Man. I'm sure you're there in some capacity. And then I saw the headline and I was like, oh, Ryan's at E3 talking about Kojima. Okay.
Oops.
And so I guess, I mean, obviously the context that I've seen is that you just kind of gave a hot take on your interpretation of that initial trailer. How did it go saying that and then being on the show floor? Did people come up to you at all, or?
No, I mean, like my Twitter got a little bit warmer than usual. But yeah, that was it was just such a fun exchange that I had with Jeff and Luke Smith about Death Stranding and my conspiracy theory about what it's all about, or at least that first trailer. And like I think you guys probably saw, but you know, my hot take was that, you know, I think Hideo. I mean, I witnessed this firsthand. I think he puts himself in his games to a certain degree, right? They're kind of autobiographical in a lot of ways. And when I saw that first trailer, I thought, I think I know what this is about. And I think people appreciated that, and they were kind of intrigued by that conspiracy theory. And I was going to leave it at that because, you know, I'm just a fan now. I don't know anything about that project that you guys don't already know, right? So it's fun to be able to talk about that, and you know, it's fun that people are curious about what I think, you know, because it's been a while since I've been there.
I love it. I wanted to ask, and we have asked a couple people this, but I'm super curious considering that you've kind of worked on both sides of the pond, so to speak, I guess. So having worked with folks like Kojima and then coming back and working on something like Halo 4, I mean, there's a lot of talk, especially on this podcast out of my mouth, about sort of auteur theory in games.
Sure.
Because I come from like a film background, so obviously it's like film is filled with auteurs. What is it like to work on something that's so sort of single kind of, I don't know how to describe it, I guess sort of singular vision from this Japanese auteur, and then to come work on something that's Western and maybe a little less kind of single person steering the ship, so to speak.
Yeah. It's something I thought about a lot as I made that transition from working under an auteur in Japan, and then joining a very, very, very strange team in a lot of ways, which was the Halo 4 team. And I mean, what I mean by strange is that, without getting too much into the Halo development history, this was the first time that this team was kind of brought together to make this game. Up until that point, all of the Halo games were developed by Bungie. So this was the first internal Microsoft team, 343, that was going to develop a new Halo game. And I was one of those early members. And so not only was I confronted with the challenges of the only thing that I know about game development is the auteur approach, and in Japan, but I'm going to now move back to the States and try to direct this franchise that's well established, well respected, with a new team and a team that, even if whether they're new or they're old, they're not interested in me being an auteur. And I really had to adjust the way that I worked and really focus on different aspects of leadership and influence, in particular, about how to help guide the vision and guide the team towards that vision in a way that is much more, I think, Western friendly. That being said, though, I think there is a world, obviously, I mean, as you mentioned with film, but also in other games too, where like auteurs still exist and they create great content. I've never worked with him, but I'm lucky enough to say that he's a friend. Like Ken Levine, somebody I really respect, and I see on the outside like a lot of auteurism, like from him and his titles with System Shock, BioShock, and whatever he's working on next. And so it's definitely possible, but to me, it's just too much friction. You know, like I think us American guys like want to have way more say, and so I tend to, especially like the way I run Camouflaj these days too. It's a very collective. I source a lot of ideas from the team, and I try to get them to help me with leadership as opposed to just telling them what the vision is, basically.
There's another video game series that we all really love on this podcast, like the Eco, Shadow of the Colossus, and Last Guardian. I guess you could say it's a trilogy of sorts.
In a way, yeah.
Yeah, we noticed that there's a special thank you from Fumito Ueda in the credits. What happened? How did that happen?
Yeah. it actually connects back to my time on Metal Gear and at Konami. So one of the interesting pastimes, I don't know if they still do it or not, but a lot of Konami team members were really into like what they would call survival games, which is basically airsoft, and they had all this amazing equipment. And on a weekend, I think I can't remember if it was a Saturday or Sunday, they would oftentimes go out to the countryside in Japan, and they would just play airsoft all day. And they had some pretty serious gear, and they had their fatigues, and it was really fun to join that. And they would also invite other people from Square Enix, and also from Sony. And on one of those occasions, Fumito Ueda came out, which, by the way, just kind of blew my mind. Not because he was there, and I was a big fan, obviously, but that like Fumito Ueda is going to play like this military sim, like airsoft like exercise with like all these people. It's just so, it didn't make any sense to me. But it was really fun, and we spent the whole day together. And that's where I was able to befriend Fumito Ueda, and we've been close friends ever since. So one of the things that happened was that after I left Konami, and while I was working on Metal Gear, I was working on Halo. This was around the time that there were some troubles, and I'm sure you guys all have heard the rumors about some of the internal struggles on The Last Guardian.
Yeah.
And I was able to help him sign an agent over at UTA, a gentleman named Ophir Lupu, and I just got really involved in that kind of process, especially after I left Microsoft. Just being really, really involved in like helping him kind of get through that project, helping with some of the Sony negotiations, and just trying to support him in any way possible. So, including like towards the end, flying out to Japan for a weekend and playing Last Guardian before it was all wrapped up, and giving feedback and emotional support. And so, yeah, we've just been really close friends. And now I'm lucky to say that I help run the business over at his new studio, Gen Design. Very familiar with his new game, and helping him kind of shepherd that as well as kind of my nights and weekends project. So, very close to Fumito Ueda, and really respect and love him dearly.
You are
That's
very
crazy.
busy man, Ryan.
Yeah,
Well, Alessio played laser tag with David Hayter and Cam Clark, so I guess that's in the similar vein.
Yeah, it's a survival game of sorts, I think.
That sounds like fun.
Ryan, I wanted to make mention as well. So we kind of structure the show in seasons, or at least we did until all these crazy interviews happened, and now we're just kind of a documentary show. We eventually are going to come to two very specific seasons that I'm extremely excited about, and one of them is covering all of Kojima's non-Metal Gear games, and the other season is covering people that have been influenced by Metal Gear, and sort of top of that pile for us is your game, Republique. And so it's been on our list for a very long time. We still have not played it because we're trying to kind of keep impressions fresh for when we cover it for the show. But I wanted to ask, I mean, is there anything you can tell us or any thoughts you can give us to kind of carry with us into the playthrough? I don't know. Do you have any positive vibes to send our way?
Nice.
Wow. Republique is such a strange game, and such a wayward path in terms of its development and being episodic. So I think if I could just kind of pique your interest on the game, is really that we really released them as kind of 5 separate experiences, these 5 episodes, and we took their time with them, and we got better over time. So one thing I would like to impart is that the game gets better. Like I'm proud of episode 1, but I think it's probably our weakest. And I think you can see that the team's craft get better over time. So I'm really proud of that. And yeah, there's definitely Metal Gear inspirations like throughout, but I tried to hold back on those as much as I could because I didn't want to come across as a copycat. But it had some ideas that I had way back from I was on Metal Gear. But it was also heavily inspired by Resident Evil as well. So this in a way, and this will come across, there's no way this is going to come across well, but I'm going to say it anyway, is that it's kind of like, I kind of think it might be like my Death Stranding in a sense that like I was a little bit frustrated during my time on Halo, and I made an independent studio, and I had a lot of ideas, and there was a lot of stuff I wanted to do, and there was nobody there to tell me like we couldn't do it, and I just did it. And I think that's what the game is. It's just like a lot of creative frustration being released, and so not everything links up, not everything makes sense. we get too excited about certain areas in the game, and it's a little bit uneven in that sense. But I'm really proud of the work we did, and I think it really helped create the foundation for what we have now at Camouflaj, where we're again home to 60 some odd people and working on a big title now. So yeah, I'm proud of it, but I think it's definitely a creatively challenging game for sure.
Yeah, having just directed a film that is definitely like creative frustration, the movie
being released.
I definitely understand where you're coming from about kind of releasing all of that. I wanted to ask, just as a super quick throwaway, I don't think is there any way to play it on mobile devices still, or do you just recommend the PS4 version?
Yeah, I mean, that's one thing we've been spending so much time on, is we just try to put on every single device. Like, we'll put it on a toaster if somebody would let me. In fact, no joke, and my team loves to tease me about this. At Red Robin, we had like a team outing at Red Robin for a farewell party. They have those like little menus, those like digital touch menu things, right? You know?
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? Bellevue Square. Like, pour one out for that Red Robin that's no longer there.
Nice.
We're there, and you can play like Bejeweled on there. You can play Solitaire. You can order a hamburger. And I swear to God, like I had one of the team members take a picture of like on the back of it what that thing is called, and I had them reach out to them and said, "Hey, does this thing run Android? Because we could probably get Republic running on it, and I would love nothing more to have Republic at Red Robin." So I'm willing to put Republic on anything. And on that note, so you can play it on PC, Mac, Oculus Go, Oculus Quest very soon. You can play it on PlayStation 4, and it's coming out on other platforms too. So yeah, we love
Switch.
Very possibly. Okay. I may or may not have a test build of it on my desk right now to just even gauge whether or not it would run and play well. So not confirmed by any stretch, but we're testing it out.
Hey Ryan, you need anybody local to play test anything for you, or?
Absolutely. I
Actually,
really
like
truly do.
I'm so down. You have no idea.
Okay, man.
Well,
come
I
by.
do want Red Robnique. I don't know
Red
what that means.
This is going to be like a really weird out there thing. Did the Red Robin in Bellevue Square close?
It did. Now it's a Verizon store, and I'm crushed.
When did that happen?
It just recently, and
oh man!
But like it's okay because I still think there's one in Redmond, so we'll go there for the launch party of the Red Republique version. And it's got to be some sort of like crossover. You have to pick up burgers and stuff like that in the game.
Something
I don't know.
So
that's amazing.
So you had mentioned that you obviously drew a little bit of inspiration from Metal Gear, but you didn't want to be a copycat. But one of the cool things that you did draw over was you worked with several people from the series. You worked with David Hayter and Jennifer Hale and Dwight Schultz, who you worked with on Portable Ops.
Yes.
What was it like? Like, what was the process of getting them involved with the project like, and how did you like working with them on your game as opposed to somebody else's?
That's a really interesting question. So I loved working on the voice over aspect of the Metal Gear games that I was involved with. Loved working with Chris, David, Jennifer, Dwight, Kari, Payton, so many people. It is so like a lot of close friends to this day. So I just got really involved in it. I just loved it. So I couldn't imagine a world where in the future I wouldn't be working with them. So it really, maybe from the outside, it seemed like, hey, Ryan's just kind of, opening up his Rolodex and calling in some favors. And I mean, there was a certain degree of that, like, hey, can you help me out here? This is a new game, new franchise. Can you take a chance on this? And thankfully, everybody was really interested in that. But it really came down to, like, I just love these people, and I think they're so talented, and I wanted to work with them again. And so with David in particular, he voiced a character named Zager, and it's a really fun character in Republique. And one of the things I wanted to be careful about, though, is that, David puts a little bit on a little bit into his voice, right, to get that snake gravel, right? And so one of the things I want to be careful with David is that we more leaned into his real voice. And so it's kind of fun for him to just kind of act and just be David. And he's kind of a free spirit and his character is very much like that. And we even like modeled his character after Zager, or Zager after David, I should say. So yeah, just super fun working with those guys. And sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just saying, anymore he kind of just sounds like that anyway.
Yeah, exactly. That's true over time, right? And I'll say last thing, which was the reason why we worked with Dwight Schultz, who maybe some of your older listeners will remember as Mad Dog Murdoch from A-Team. He was in Star Trek: Next Generation.
Yeah.
But he played a fairly small role in Portable Ops as a Python, and I will never forget just how floored I was with his performance in that game. And I remember thinking, I have to work with this guy on anything in the future. He's that talented. And he ended up doing an incredible job voicing the Overseer in Republique. There's a lot of problems with Republique, but one of them is not Dwight and his performance of the Overseer. It's something really everybody should check out.
How different was like the experience of working on something a little bit smaller, more contained, versus working on a bigger game? Because it's an episodic game. So what are kind of like the bigger differences between working on something smaller, more episodic, and working on like a monolith like Halo or Metal Gear?
It's hard because I picked up all these habits, whether they're good or bad, I don't know. But I was used to working on teams of there are hundreds of people are involved, right? And so with Republique, I'm all of a sudden, looking around my team, and it's 10 people, right? Maybe 15 at max, maybe 30, which is still a pretty big team for an indie title, right? But I really struggled with that. I really struggled with not having the resources and the budget, but I had these grand ambitions, so I had to get really, really creative. And so we just did so many things to try to keep the budget in check, to try to reuse assets, but I think I feel a lot more comfortable with a larger team because that's kind of what I was born into. And with Iron Man, for example, we're at 60 some odd people right now. It's not where we were at Halo or Metal Gear Solid 4, but I'm getting a little bit more into my comfort zone because it's a little bit more of a larger scope. So yeah, I have to say I really, really did struggle. And if I ever had to work again on a smaller like indie title, I don't know if I would love it or not. I do like those kind of bigger epic games.
It's interesting that I was kind of going through your catalog. It kind of clicked for me in my head, and obviously like we carry a lot of pieces of previous projects with us
Yes.
into current ones and yada, yada, yada. But before Metal Gear Mondays, or I guess actually kind of concurrently with the podcast, I started like a very long video game documenting project. And so I'm in St. Louis, Missouri, actually. And I happened to meet these three awesome brothers that were making a game, and their youngest brother, Sam, was like dying of an intense blood cancer. And they're making a game called Crashlands. I don't know if you're familiar with it at all. And I started documenting them because I quite honestly thought Sam, the youngest brother, didn't have a lot of time. And so I went down this rabbit hole of documenting these guys for like 2 years or like a year and some change. Ultimately, he beat the cancer. The game did extremely well. Devolver picked up the show whenever we finished it. And that was awesome. And then I went on to do some more kind of game development and stuff, like capturing it with film, because I never put the time into actually learning how to develop. I was like, I'll film you guys doing it. I wanted to ask, I've spent a lot of time in just sort of like, and I don't say this in like a talking down way, but like dingy Midwestern basement development setups and like just being there during crunch and stuff like that. I'm curious to hear kind of your take on the difficulties of indie coming from where you're coming from. We
definitely lived the dingy basement life in the early years of Camouflaj and working on Republique. And we have actually, if anybody's curious, on our YouTube channel, we uploaded our entire documentary that we filmed about the making of Republique with the permission from our Kickstarter backers. If you check out the first episode, you can see the office that we were working at the beginning. Once we graduated from my bedroom, and it was an old condemned bank building, and I was paying $481 a month, so it was an absolute steal. But it was disgusting. It was disgusting. And I think we really earned our stripes working out of there. I think it was a good, at the time I didn't love it, right? I liked having the free sodas at Microsoft. I loved I loved working in, at the time, I think the most expensive plot of land in the entire planet, which is where the Konami building was in Tokyo. So, I kind of born out of like bigger studios with big budgets and all that. And then to be in this condemned bank building with a pretty junior team, And a guy like me who I didn't have lots of hands-on experience, I experienced like with direction and design and things like that, but not a programmer by trade. So I had to learn a lot of things too. And yeah, it was really tough. And I have a deep respect for those folks that do a lot better than I can, which is just scrapping together and making great games and building off that budget and making the next big game. And I don't know what more to add other than to say like it was really hard, but it was also really rewarding, and I'm glad that I went through that.
So, and you talked about the hard work and everything, and all the blood, sweat, and tears. But what does Ryan Payton like to do for fun?
It's kind of coming out here, but I'm obsessed with video games, and I'm obsessed with helping other developers and talking to other developers. I love talking to folks like you who have an interest in games and want to help, have meaningful discussions and educate people about the development process, right? So like Ryan Payton is very much about video games, like from morning till night. So, I wake up at 6, I'm working at 6:15 on Camouflaj duties for the most part. I get to the office at 10, we have stand up, and then I'm just working on the game with the team all the way till about 7 or 8. Go home, have dinner with my wife, and then I either play a game or I get on the phone with developers that I can help out with. So that's not just Fumito Ueda, but I'm also pretty deep in with Yu Suzuki on Shenmue 3 at the moment. I'm a partner in a project financing fund for games, for indie games called Kowloon Knights. We provided funding actually towards Fumito's new project, and a Spirit Fair, which was on the stage at Microsoft this past E3. From a studio called Thunder Lotus. So we feel like, funded about 18 titles at the moment. So yeah, I'm just like, and then that plus a bunch of other stuff. So I just love games, and anything I could be doing that's kind of even tangential to helping developers, making great games, loving games, documenting them, I'm all in. And that's my hobby and that's my life. And I feel very, very fortunate to have it.
Nice. You kind of spit it out subtly, but you worked with... You're working on Shenmue 3.
I am.
That's kind of like another one of my favorites, if you will. Shenmue 2, that nostalgic to say.
So
the least.
Good, right?
Yes. So what was your what's your, I guess, how, I don't know. I don't know how to ask this.
Like, what the hell, right?
Yeah. You're just like name dropping all these games. I'm like,
can you
whoa.
confirm the inclusion of sailors in Shenmue 3? Or?
Oh, man. I haven't seen a sailor yet. But, I was wondering if you knew anything about sailors. I was going to ask you guys. But
Here they hang out by the docks.
It's so much fun working on that project. So yeah, I know this is a Metal Gear podcast, so I'll keep the Shenmue chatter to a minimum. But
you bring that
bring as much
back in here.
Hey, you're the boss, So yeah, here we go. So you guys asked where I went to university. So in near Seattle, I remember importing the first Shenmue game from Japan, and I was studying Japanese at the time. And that was like my gateway in a lot of ways to Japanese culture, to language, and full voiceovers. And I kind of struggled my way through the first Shenmue, and then imported Shenmue 2. And I really credit that game to let me it helped me build like a really profound love for Japan and the culture, but also the language, and helped me kind of hone my language skills too. So I owe a lot to that series. And I remember being profoundly disappointed and sad for Yu Suzuki when everything kind of became unraveled after Shenmue 2. And it was clear that the franchise was not going to continue. And I remember thinking about his legacy and like, what would it be like to be somebody like him, who was like a god, an absolute game development, game creator god, right? Only to be just kind of regulated to not making games anymore. And that actually really bothered me. I didn't know him personally, obviously, at the time, but it just kind of stuck with me. So I remember reaching out to Mark Cerny. He and I were having dinner, and he knew Yu Suzuki from way back. And I said, "Hey, would you mind giving me his email address?" He said, "Sure." So I reached out to Yu Suzuki, and I said, randomly, you don't know who I am, but I think I know how you can make Shenmue 3. And this is back in 2013, maybe. And,
oh my God.
And he wrote me back and more or less like, who the hell are you? And I said, well, I'll explain who I am. Let's get on a call. So we got on a Skype call and I explained to him who I am and why I want to help him out. And I tried to explain to him what this thing called Kickstarter is. And having been a Kickstarter survivor and having went through that whole adventure.
That's a good way to put it, a Kickstarter survivor.
Yeah, I was definitely a Kickstarter survivor. That was a whole other story. But we got funded on our game like in the last 6 hours. So
oh my God.
That's a whole other podcast. But yeah, so he was intrigued. And so we met in San Francisco because he was going to be there for GDC. And then I ended up taking him to all these different meetings and trying to help him raise funds for the game. But what was crazy is that he had to do some meetings in Seattle, so I took him around to a bunch of places, had him on my living room couch, Yu Suzuki, and I ended up putting on my shoulders. I'm gonna educate this guy about what's been going on in the games industry for the past 15 years. And so I ran him through GTA 5, I ran him through Destiny, I ran him through A Wolf Among Us, Walking Dead games from Telltale, Heavy Rain. I just want to show him all the games that he influenced clearly, right?
Yeah.
And I just never thought in a million years I'd be telling Yu Suzuki what's going on with video games, right?
Yeah.
And I think we just developed a really great bond from that point on. So, obviously was able to help him get that Kickstarter started, the Sony partnership and everything. And so from the moment the development started, he asked me if I'd be willing to help out as kind of on an advisor role. So whenever I'm in Japan, I like to stop by Wisenet, his studio in Botanda, and I just check in on the game and just tell him what I think, as a fan. And it's been great. So,
what can you tell us about how it's looking right now?
Yeah, so what a crazy project that is. I have in the best and worst ways, right? What I can say, because I always have to be careful, right? Because I'm not an official
right.
developer of the game, and I don't want to get in trouble with Deep Silver or Yu Suzuki himself, right? But I just want to say that he is putting his heart and soul into that game. He is there all the time, and his team is working super hard. And it's similar to what we did here at Camouflaj, right? He just put together a team a lot of people haven't worked together before, and he just by sheer force of will is trying to realize everybody's expectations and dreams of what Shenmue 3 could be, right? And it's had its bumps along the road, right? But I know that he's doing everything he can to make sure that the game is as good as possible before release. And I have builds and I give feedback and I say, hey, this could be better, this could be better. And look, what I can say is the game is people played it at E3, so I'm not saying anything new here, is that it's not going to revolutionize games like Shenmue 1 and 2 did, right? It's definitely more of a spirit. It's not a spiritual successor. It's a legitimate successor, but it's definitely in the same vein as the previous games. And as a fan, I'm really happy about that, right? I just want to make sure that it's as polished and as bug free and as beautiful as possible. But I can say that the DNA is definitely there. Yu Suzuki is totally there. It's very present. It feels like a Shenmue game, and to me, and as a fan, that's something that's what I wanted.
I when we came into this interview, I did not think that we would be talking to the reason Shenmue 3 exists. But
oops, sorry about that.
No, you're fine. I just want to say you're a goddamn hero, Ryan. I just want to leave that there.
Well, thank you. I mean, I take pride in that fact that I love to help people, and I don't do this for money. I just do this for love of people and love of games. And I hope that the game is that Shenmue. I hope that you love Shenmue 3. I obviously don't know how it's going to turn out at the end. But there's going to be some same things I would imagine you don't like about it, and I'm sorry for that, right? But I just hope that it's a big success for him and the fans love it, and he can continue to make more Shenmue games. That's what I hope for.
Wasn't the original series supposed to be 9? Is that right?
So that was. Oh man, because clearly you're interested in this topic.
We are going down. I was going to say we are going down.
So here you go. This is crazy, man. So the first GDC we met, I want to say it was GDC 2013, or maybe 2014. But we spent a whole day together in the lobby of his hotel in San Francisco, and he had brought all these documents of all these old Shenmue files, all these story documents, the story treatments. And I remember asking him, I said, I thought there's 16 chapters of Shenmue, because that's what I feel like was reported. And he was like, no, it's 11. And I think he's still pretty consistent on that these days. But he said publicly that Shenmue 3 is not going to be the end of the story, right? And I don't know exactly what chapters it covers of the whole saga. But yeah, the last time I remember talking to him, I think he said it was 11 chapters.
Ooh, that's insane.
But not 11 games per se, right?
Right.
So I believe Shenmue 2 covers chapters 3, 4, and maybe 5.
So they're so maybe like 5 or 6 games then.
I mean, I know how many games he thinks it's going to take.
Gotcha. Say no more, fam.
Dang.
Yeah, but all my thing is like, dude, just focus on 3. Just make it as good as you can.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So a little bit earlier, you had mentioned that you were working on something that had gotten canceled. Are you able to talk about that at all, or?
Yeah, I mean, I've never talked about it publicly, and it's not because I can't. But that was what a traumatic experience that was.
Mm. You don't have to if you don't want to. I just
no.
Yeah, I was like, wow.
I mean, feel free to pull the parachute on me at any time if you sound like this is getting too depressing. But
oh no, not at all. Get really depressing.
You know, so while I was finishing Republique, I pitched a publisher on a game. This sounds like I'm making this up, which I think like most of the stuff I'm saying today probably sounds like I'm making up. Like, oh yeah, Airsoft with Fumito Ueda and Airbnb with Yu Suzuki. So yeah, I'm totally
it's like your real life fever dream.
Right? It feels like that way sometimes. And then the Republique game
oh yeah, of course,
in a year or two. So, but I swear to God, I was on a train in Japan, and I was asked by a subsidiary of Square Enix to pitch a multiplayer game for this prototype streaming service called Shinra. And on that train, I thought to myself, I had this kind of idea ruminating in the back of my mind that I really loved that movie Battle Royale, and and the Hunger Games movies were starting to come out, and I was like, there needs to be a Battle Royale.
I think I know where this is going, and I'm very scared.
Yeah, you should be. So this is 2004 or 2005. Or sorry, 2014 or 2015. Sorry. This is a long time ago. This is years before PUBG, years before H1Z1. And I pitched them on what I called like a battle royale game. And we prototyped it. It was cool. They went through some hard times. They had to drop the project, and I was able to take it to another publisher and continue to work on the game. And right as we were wrapping up pre-production on the game, and Republique was finished, I had a very bad meeting with them in Japan where they said, hey, this battle royale genre you keep talking about that's going to be big one day, we just don't see it. We don't think it's a real thing. And we're sorry, but we're canceling the game. And that was about a year before H1Z1 came out and just went nuclear, and then PUBG, and then Fortnite, and then the rest is history. So yeah, we worked for a long time, I think almost 2 years, on a battle royale game that never saw the light of day.
Wow.
Have you spoken to them since and then watched them eat their hat?
I had a call with them about a year ago about something different, and I said, like, yeah, remember that thing? And we kind of all laughed.
Oh, no.
But that was like, look, I'm happy about that in a lot of ways, right? Because I was very angry after I was demoted at Microsoft and was more or less pushed out on Halo. After coming out, I was very angry. And I held a really nasty grudge against a number of people. But over time, I realized that was like not doing anybody any good. And now, thankfully, I say that all those people are friends now, and we talk and we go out to meals and things like that. And that was a really good learning experience for me. And so when we were canned, and this battle royale game just kind of vanished in a blink of an eye, really, I decided that I wasn't going to hold a grudge against these guys, no matter what happened after the fact, and I was going to move forward. And because I did that, I was able to land this really terrific Iron Man project with Marvel and Sony. And so I think if I would have dwelled on that cancellation, I would have fought back against it. I don't even know if Camouflaj would still be around because I'd be so distracted. I'd be thinking about suing people. I'd be thinking about, all these negative things that are not going to really result in anything positive. So that's why I can laugh about it. That we were working on a battle royale game years and years before it ever took off.
Mm-hmm. The market's a little bit saturated, but would you ever consider reworking it and going back to that at any time?
What's funny is that we talk about the creative process. I kind of I put the team through hell and back on this. So we started the game as a battle royale game, but over time I started, and this is way before again these other battle royale games, so I didn't know what worked and what didn't. But I started to pinpoint, fixate on areas of the battle royale genre that I didn't like. And so we kept changing it and changing and changing it. So it's kind of an evolved battle royale game. I'm not going to say it's better, but it's not Apex, and it's not Fortnite, and it's not PUBG, and it's not a Blackout. It's different. The way that went kind of wound up at the end right before it was canceled is it's pretty different. So I think it could survive in the marketplace these days. I just don't know, and I don't even know if the team would be willing to go back to it. You know what I mean?
Kind of like you have that experience, and it kind of hurts.
We had that experience, and we just love working on what we're working on now too. So
absolutely,
yeah. I appreciate you just kind of giving us that little tidbit about kind of, I guess, the importance of kind of moving forward, even if bad things happen, because I think I mean, I've encountered tons of people, and even myself have been this person, where sometimes the sort of intense emotion kind of blinds you from thinking rationally. So I think it's a really good tidbit to kind of carry forward.
Well, thanks. I mean, I feel like you could probably point to over a dozen Metal Gear bosses that need to learn that life lesson.
Well, yes, I think one of them is literally named the
Fury. I was going to say, yeah. So yeah, exactly.
Yeah, somebody made a joke Twitter account called The Fury, and they often interact with us, and it's always very funny.
Okay, no, I need to follow after this.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Ryan, before we continue, because I know that we do have kind of some lingering questions, I would just want to be respectful of your time.
I'm
so
fine. I could do this. I could do this all day.
Okay.
This is fun. I appreciate you guys hearing my story, listening to my stories.
I wanted to ask, kind of shifting gears back into sort of post Konami Kojima. Obviously, I guess it was 2015 when the brakes were kind of pumped at Konami in regards to Metal Gear and kind of everything. It's the day the Earth stood still for our listeners.
Right.
All these reports started coming out about how draconian and crazy it was to work at Konami. Can you speak to any of that without breaking any rules?
Yeah, it's tricky, and not because it was so draconian that I can't talk about it. It's really more about I want to be careful. I want to be respectful, and
right.
But I will say, there was a few things when I joined that company that I thought, wow, that's kind of strange. But it was never to the point where I thought it was really getting in the way of what we needed to do on the project. And again, I left in 2008, and Metal Gear Solid 5, as you know, shipped in 2015. So things could have changed within Konami, and probably did after I left. And maybe it got more draconian, or maybe it didn't. I really don't know. But there was a few things, but now it's actually weirdly more commonplace these days. But in terms of how they track your in and out with your badge, I remember not liking that, but I know that actually is pretty commonplace even here in the West. Yeah, I mean, there's a couple other instances, examples I could give you, but which I'd rather not get into. But it's not oh my God, right. I can't believe that.
Yeah, for sure. Kind of as a quick aside, and hopefully I do not mispronounce this. Sean Eiston.
Eiston.
I'm not sure if you're familiar with him,
Absolutely.
But Chris also mentioned him to us, and I know that he also produced the KP Alert. So I was curious, how you know each other, and maybe if you can give us any interesting facts to carry into that discussion with him in the future.
Absolutely, yeah. No, Sean's a great guy. It's funny. He used to work with my boss at Kojima Productions, Ken Imaizumi. I'm sure you're familiar with him. I know you guys talk about him. I've heard you guys talk about him before on the podcast. Ken, I think, was able to convince Sean to rejoin Konami because they had worked together before Metal Gear. And Sean moved from Hawaii back to Japan, and and joined the Metal Gear Solid 4 project. So he and I worked side by side. So I really loved working with Sean, and I feel bad too because he ended up, I don't know if he wanted to or not, but he ended up taking on a lot of my responsibilities after I left. So I owe him big time for that. But I'm sure he's going to have some really good stories, and just a really, really great guy.
So you obviously worked, Metal Gear Solid 4 was obviously this very huge project. We've heard stories from some people that like even the voice acting, if you scale it up from 1 to 4, was tenfold what it was before. Yeah. What's a typical day working on Metal Gear Solid 4 look like from like your perspective?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So for one, I got to preface this by I touched so many aspects of that game. So I'm really unique in that space. Like I was kind of just, I was given a lot of freedom, which I really appreciate. Right. So my day to day is a little bit different maybe than like a software engineer on the game. I'll tell you what. Yeah, but I'll tell you. Basically, I got to the office about 7:30. Had a lot of emails waiting for me from Konami Europe and Konami America. Try to tackle those. I think we had teams stand up at 10 o'clock in the morning, and everybody would stand up from their cubicles, and you got 150 people, and they would all listen to like the team leads, kind of just tell people, that here's like kind of like what's going on that day, like a typical Scrum stand up, and then everybody's got to work. It's pretty quiet in the office, I have to say. People have headphones on, and it's busy. But what you don't have, which I think I observed this a lot more like on Halo or even here at Camouflaj or other studios, is that a lot more kind of loud discussion. I didn't observe that as much at Konami, and they had like their internal wikis and things like that where they were handling a lot of stuff, and as you know, it's a very much more of a top-down development. So you kind of have your specs and you know what you kind of have to build. And so everybody had PS4 or PS3 dev kits, which got really hot over time. I remember during development when we had over 100 PlayStation 3 dev kits just spewing out heat. Like we didn't even have to turn the AC on. It was like a sauna in there.
I remember my PlayStation was bad enough.
Yeah. Yeah. Imagine 150 of those running. A lot of guys would work late. I work late. But I like in a lot of studios, that's oftentimes where the magic happens because you're kind of done with the meetings throughout the day and guys are just playing the game and we walk over, we would play Metal Gear Solid Online together. Just kind of testing things out, try a boss or something like that. And that's where like a lot of those fun, spontaneous discussions would happen. And we would go out to dinner because we were in downtown Tokyo in Roppongi with lots of great food options. So I just have really, really fond memories of being with my team members, working on the game, just being really passionate about it. And everybody was just I think they love what they do, It was really great.
What was your favorite moment? I know it's like a lot of moments, but if you could pick one out, what was a big one that sticks out working on Metal Gear?
That moment where Hideo told me that I need to get really involved in MGS4 was a defining moment, and he actually said that in front of the team later, in front of the whole team. So that was like really interesting experience, right? To be told like, hey, this is this guy Ryan. You've probably seen him around. He's going to get more involved in the development now, and that was a big moment for me. I don't know if it was my favorite moment, but it was something I will never forget. And I think that, look, this happens on most game developments, but the game is not fun 95% of development time, right? And you're worried and you're nervous. And it's like, is this thing going to come together? And I remember distinctly, as you guys know, Metal Gear Solid 4 came out in June of 2008. And I remember going back for Christmas, right before, 6 months before that, right? So December 2007. And I remember coming back from holiday and loading up the build and seeing that, wow, there's like enemies are still not moving. There's bosses that are not moving. I'm clipping through the world. I can't actually get from the beginning of the game to the end of the game. And it's January and the game's coming out in June. Jeez. And we're going to, start this game in around April, right? So how is this going to become a video game in like 3.5 months? And nobody. I mean, people were worried, but they weren't panicking. Like I was feeling that sense of panic, and because it was really one of my first rodeos, and it was. I just remember that feeling, and I remember just the excitement I had as the game was coming together, and that nervousness. That wow, are we going to make it? Are we going to make it? Are we going to make it? And it kind of all culminated in something that you guys may or may not have heard about, which was that kind of notorious Metal Gear Solid 4 boot camp. Do you guys know about this?
Yeah. I think I heard about it, but I don't know anything about it.
So basically, what it was it was like it was a preview event of Metal Gear Solid 4 where we invited journalists from around the world to come to this crazy Konami like resort in the middle of nowhere, where the Konami teams could rent out for like team retreats, and it's really nice. And we invited a bunch of journalists to come and play a more or less beta version of Metal Gear Solid 4, and we also sourced a lot of their feedback after they played the game, and it kind of culminated there because like the game was coming in hot, right? But everybody was there playing the game for a whole 2 or 3 days. And everybody seemed really into it. And I just remember feeling just like this profound sense of relief that the game's going to be good and the game's going to be all right. And I'm not to blame for like some sort of crazy disaster or something. So yeah, that's probably my favorite moment of the project, just knowing that everything was going to be okay.
That's always a nice feeling.
Yeah. That's a nice feeling, isn't it?
The sheer relief.
Right.
So when did you leave Konami?
So my last day was somewhere around probably July or August of 2008. So, 3 or 4 months after Metal Gear Solid 4 shipped.
Okay. So you're living in this world. Metal Gear Solid 4 comes out and it's this huge like conclusion to everything. Like it was the conclusion to 3, 1, 2, all of these games.
Yeah, all of them.
What were you surprised when they announced Peace Walker and that more was coming?
No, I was not surprised, and not because I already knew about it. I didn't know about it, but I'll tell you why. Is that I knew, having worked so intensely on the story and on that Metal Gear Solid 4 database, which I know you guys talked about.
Oh my god, I love that thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I worked a lot on that thing, by the way, and I could tell that there were still stories to be told, right? So I thought, like, if they were going to do something, they were going to kind of fill in the blanks after MGS4. So I always thought that at some point Hideo was going to want to tell more of the big boss story and kind of fill in those big gaps, right? So I wasn't surprised when I saw Peace Walker, and I also wasn't surprised because around the time I left, Hideo was starting to talk about doing like a Portable Ops 2, but he wanted to do something that was a little more cooperative and that was something that was going to be bigger and really kind of capitalize on the success of PSP in Japan in particular, in large part because of the massive success of the Monster Hunter portable franchise on PSP in Japan. And a lot of people on the team were playing lots of Monster Hunter during development of MGS4, me included. So,
that is definitely evident.
Peace Walker.
Yeah, absolutely,
Peace Walker.
Absolutely.
Right?
I mean, literally, like Monster Hunter is in the game, like a monster.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So yeah, for all those reasons, I wasn't super surprised when I saw that. And I'm assuming that you're also wondering if I was surprised that they made another mainline Metal Gear game after 4.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of assume that that's where this is headed. But and I have to say that I was surprised because Hideo's done this a number of times where he'll say this is like the last Metal Gear game, and then and I think he generally means it, but then he starts getting excited about the possibilities again. So yeah, so I was kind of surprised because I thought that he really, really was ready for something.
Do you have any general thoughts on 5?
I do. I think it's the by far the best playing, most fun Metal Gear game of all time.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's incredible. I think that the story, however, leaves a lot to be desired, and as a massive fan of that franchise, I really wish it just kind of came together a little bit more. It was just a little. Yeah, I just think the story was just could have been better.
Preaching to the choir, brother. Real quick, Ryan. I wanted to say I'm not sure if anything changed on your end, but you sound like you're across the room from.
Oh, sorry.
Oh no, you're totally fine. And we are definitely coming up on sort of our last questions. So nice. Well, I I think I feel like we asked this question to a few people, and usually the answer is like, well, I don't know. But I wanted to get your thoughts. If a wishmaster approached and was like, hey, I'll grant you a wish. Would you wish?
Should we paint this name really quick? I am the wishmaster.
Would you want a Metal Gear Solid 6 or like an original Metal Gear remake that follows the events of 5?
So this is what I want, is that I want, if there's going to be a new Metal Gear Solid game, that Hideo has to direct it. Because I think that Metal Gear is Hideo Kojima. Kojima is Metal Gear.
Well, we saw what happened when Survive came out.
Exactly. And look, Shinta Nojiri did a great job directing Metal Gear Acid. Mm-hmm. There's been people that have done their own takes on Metal Gear, but to me, there's just no way it doesn't come across as disingenuous, I think, if you don't have Hideo involved in some capacity. So there's that. But what I really, really want more than anything is for some team, maybe even the current Konami Metal Gear team, to take and finish 5, right? And to make like a subsistence version of it. I think it's so good, but it's also has so many areas where it could be improved upon. And seeing that last boss battle against Liquid would be just like properly done would be amazing. I really want that game, guys. Help, let's somehow tell the world that this needs to happen, and somehow just for what it's worth, I don't know if we really need I don't mean this in like a negative way, but I don't know if we Hideo needs to direct that necessarily. You know what I mean? I feel like the blueprint's there.
For sure. Well, I mean, there are there are details that got scrapped from 5 that exist for people to see.
Right,
so
exactly.
I feel like surely there's something.
This would be. We had subsistence. Maybe we call it sustenance. Metal Gear Solid 5 sustenance.
Oh, sign me up. Pre-order now.
Beautiful. I think for all intents and purposes, that is all we had prepared. And obviously we did end up going a little over on time. Sam, Isaac, do you guys have any additional questions for Ryan?
This is going to be like a really dumb random question from a reference that you made earlier. Is Mark Cerny as pleasant of a person as he seems like he is?
Yeah, Mark's great. Obviously super smart, right? And so it's kind of hard to have dinner with him because he's so brilliant, you just feel inferior. But yeah, he's awesome, man. He's great.
Yeah, because I remember the first time I'd ever heard of him was when the PS4 got announced and he was talking about all the specs and everything like that. And I was just like, I could listen to this man talk about anything forever.
Yeah, and he's got a Metal Gear connection too. He would advise, right? You would see him in credits of games and things like that. And I remember him giving us advice on how to make Metal Gear Solid 4 better, especially from a technical perspective. So yeah, there's a kind of fun crossover there with Mark Cerny and the Metal Gear franchise as well.
So we got to sign him up. We got to find him for this interview.
Gotta get him.
That's crazy. Well, Ryan, where can people find you on the internet if they want more of you?
You don't want more of me, but if you want to yell at me or blame me for the Metal Gear Solid 4 story, which some people like to do, I didn't write. Let's just clear the air here, guys. I know we're over on time.
No,
I didn't write the story of Metal Gear Solid 4: Guns of the Patriots. Listeners, please, look, I love your passion, but I don't need you to tweet at me. Fuck you for Metal Gear Solid 4 story or whatever. That's not helpful because you got it all wrong anyway. I didn't write the story, but and I know
so you're not responsible for Meryl and Johnny getting married.
I'm not. I'm proud of the work we did, but yeah, I didn't write the story. But if you do want to,
Ryan, would you be pro or anti Solid Snake actually shooting himself at the end of 4?
At the time, I was probably more pro.
It sounded like David similarly because he said he was just very, very recently on an interview where he talked about how he was actually having a debate in the voice booth about how Snake wouldn't miss if that's what he was going to do.
Yes. Yeah. We had some great debates with David in the booth during MGS4 recording. That's a whole other show we should do. But I remember at the time thinking that it should happen because it's it will guarantee that it's over. Just commit, stick the landing, man. Just commit. It's over, Like, don't chicken out, basically, is the way I was thinking at the time. But now as I get older, I'm like, you know what? I think it was kind of I think it was the right move. It was more merciful, and I think shows more respect to the character.
Well, continue with where people can find you. I'm sorry.
I'm at Ryan Payton, and if you want to reach out to me and say hi or ask me a question, like I'll do my best. But I don't tweet too often. And then you'll see me doing probably more promotion and things for Marvel's Iron Man VR. That's going to be coming exclusively to PlayStation VR. So super excited for that. And just also you can just find me listening to Metal Gear Mondays and helping out get more guests for your show. And really appreciate the hard work you guys put into this.
And then you
obviously don't do this for the big checks that you get from all the advertising. So that passion, I think, really comes through. And I think I could speak for your listeners too, that everybody really appreciates that.
Thank you, sir.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you, Ryan.
And then also Camouflaj is on Twitter as well, right? It's at CAMOUFLAJ.
Correct. Yeah, Camouflage spelled pretty weird. We're hooked on phonics over here, so
AEIOU are vowels and sometimes
that's amazing.
Yes. You can find us at Red Robin.
Yeah, thank you so much.
But not at Bellevue Square in Redmond.
But not at Bellevue Square.
Yeah, not anymore. Well, you guys are eating Red Robin in the parking lot of the Verizon store.
Yes, it's sad.
In protest.
Ryan, we, as you know, we kind of conclude the show with the "It's just a box" tagline, and obviously we stumble our very silly asses to that finish line at the end of most shows, but typically we like to throw it to guests to try and carry that torch. Would you be interested in stumbling your way to that line delivery for us?
So you want me to say the line? Can you remind me of?
Yeah, it's just a box, and feel free to get to that line however you please.
It's just a box.
Just a box.